Minister, great to have you, especially on a day like that where we found out that Cambodia is going to be hit as well with 10% forced labor, 301 tariffs. That is on the lower end of the range, but there is also the access capacity component that's yet to be determined. What is Cambodia looking at right now? Is this still going to be 19% at the end of the day?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes. Thank you for bringing up the topics. Actually, we all, at the moment, when we are finding out the decisions on Section 122 and 301s on excessive capacities, it's resulting in what we've seen as a ongoing discussion that Cambodia happened with the United States on our trading capacities. And yes, on the forced labors, we actually have taken additional steps with 3 specific ministries in line to enforce, to specifically show that we take great interest in preventing forced labor for importing into our countries. So with that, we know is that the ability to maintain below 19% is a possibility for Cambodia.
So are we looking at 10, 12, or somewhere closer to 18?
Within the range, that and also the fact that Cambodia is also on the negotiating path for a quotas systems with the United States as well, alongside with other few trading partners like Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, for specifically sourcing raw materials for garments from the United States and to be processed and re-imported back into the United States quota-free and duty-free in that sense.
Does that make sense for Cambodia manufacturing and supply chains though?
Very much. Our integrated vertical integration for garments is actually quite responsive to the raw material that's coming in. So, with finer quality resulting in finer outcomes of the product itself. The sourcings, the more the better, and our ability to be able to adapt and actually reducing the final cost of the products is what allow Cambodia to remain competitive in this sense.
What else is the U.S. requesting while these tariff negotiations are ongoing?
Many are on trade and custom duties facilitations. We're looking at electronic communication. We're looking at modernizing the system so that our customs differences can be taken into consideration, and how we are actually facilitating a lot of other understandings like standardizations, licensings, and many of the processings of manufacturing itself. So to us, those are great conversations as some of the very things that Cambodia has on our own agendas when we are gearing up to, ready for graduation from LDC status in 2029.
Cambodia also having conversations with China, recently signing an MOU and trying to get some form of agreement that whatever trade agreements are signed with other third parties will not come at the expense of China. How did that come about? Who initiated that?
Well, this is a mutual understandings from Cambodia and China as great, partnership with each other.
Which China asked for?
Yes, yes. It was initiated by China with our, participation in all of this. What's important is that, it's a great thing you bring it up because one great point I want to be able to share with you this morning is the fact that how Cambodia has always been remaining an open and, reliable trading partners. So an MOU of such, that we signed with China indicated how open and transparent we are and how we take in serious considerations the interests of our trading partners and to ensure that the sovereignty of Cambodia is also taken into account and the sovereignties and the economic interests of our trading partners, all of our trading partners are taken into interest. And this through a proper consultation.
How is that going to work though? Because to not do things at the expense of China at a time where the U.S. is still Cambodia's largest export market, and if push comes to shove, what realistically can be done?
Actually, a lot easier than you think. In the everyday manufacturing and process of everything, we see the incomings of it's both sides of interest. In fact, if you look specifically just at China's and United States as Cambodia's largest trading, import, and exporting market, it's actually a complementary complementarity of each other's. So one would not be infringed upon another's at all. Cambodia would be serving as a platforms that allowing a lot of the processings and the mobilization of economic activities, especially on the garment and footwears and textile specific industry, to flow in back and forth all across. So I believe it's actually enhancing an integration instead. So not something that I would be worried in the way you have had projected it. So.
What about worries given the border conflict, given how, trade is not coming in via the land border, and Cambodia did take in a lot of raw materials from Thailand prior to the conflict breaking out. How has Cambodian manufacturing adjusted?
They have been adjusting quite well. It has been 1 year, despite the fact that land borders has been, a unilateral closure by the Thai side. But through the seaport and through the airport, it's still an ongoing. Thailand, as Cambodia's +1 corridors, has always been serving. But also at the same time, Cambodia has many other corridors that we are working on. Whether it's with Vietnam and with Laos. So therefore, the trade routes is actually reconfigured itself, and we also diversifying our importing some markets as well. So that we see a rising trend. And, all of this is projected and indicated with our exporting numbers that still continue to be on the rise, which is surprising given the fact that surprising to the publics, but not to us. We have been.
It's not enough to offset completely, though, right? What you're taking in from China or Vietnam in raw materials, because there's still quite a sizable reliance on Thai raw materials.
Well, it's still the nearest is always the best, of course, and sourcing costs its logistic costs, and all of that. But at the same time, diversifying our importing markets has been serving us of great interest. With this, many other trading partners have been able to, lock into agreements with each other. So we are able to source far more. And what's important, we are sourcing from domestic right now. So that's what we are actually deeply integrating within and doing that vertical integration I mentioned earlier.
Yes. How is all these near-term challenges, if we can put it that way, actually, maybe diverting from some of the longer-term reforms that Cambodia does have to undertake, because it loses least developed country status by 2029. Cambodia needs to start exporting higher value products, making higher value products.
That being said, actually, LDC's graduation is not a finish line. It's actually a milestone. And for us, it's reflecting the hard-earned, and the sound policy that we have had all this time in order to achieve this particular milestone. So the next phase of growth for us is actually on, a domestic enhancement and competition in order to further integrate ourselves globally. And that's what it is. So yes, SMEs actually appear to be facing a short-term shock and challenges, but not without our very responsive governmental policies in order to re-coordinate and be able to remain agile and responsive to their needs. And that being said, a lot of the trade processing, a lot of the trade facilitation are undergoing right now in order to modernize and facilitate them and be able to stay on path. So that small things, small shock here and there will not destroy our resilience.